And so I ran for the school board, and people told me I couldn't do it. I'm too short. I'm not an attorney. I'm too young. I didn't have $5,000 of my own money to put down to run. But I decided to do it anyway because I had the experience in government, I had experience in education, and I put my name on the line. And I did it the old-fashioned way. I went and I knocked on doors. And there were some days I would I would work all day, I would pick up my son from daycare, and I would nurse him in the parking lot because he was still around 1 year old, and I would hand him off to my husband, and I would run off to a candidate for him. Or I would hand him off to my husband, and I would go knock on doors. And there were other days, it was early enough that I would strap him onto my back, and I would take him with me. And there's one day I gave him a bath, and I'm toweling off this little head, and he looks up at me and he says, "My name's Candance Valenzuela. I run school blood." And it's been the joy of my life to be that for my son. But on top of all of that, after putting one foot in front of the other and being very process-oriented, I was able to defeat an 18-year Republican-backed incumbent. And I didn't do it by lying about who I was. I know that it's a nonpartisan race, but I had Democratic clubs backing me, and I wasn't hiding that. Folks that were very different from me knew that about me, and sometimes they would come up to me and they would say, "You know, I don't believe everything you say. I don't agree with everything that you want to do, but I know that you love our kids. I know that you care about them and that you're not lying about it because you're not changing your story every time you're in a different room, and I'm going to vote for you anyway." There's actually one time I drove past a lawn, and I kid you not, they had the Tea Party mayoral candidate, the Tea Party city council candidates, and then me. And I asked my volunteer about it. She said, "Yeah," I asked her, "Are you sure that was what you wanted to do?" And she says, "I've lived in this community for 25 years. I know she's here for our kids. That's who I'm voting for." So it's been incredible being able to serve all kinds of constituents, and we've been able to do incredible things in our schools. We've put STEM academies in our elementary schools, fine arts academies in our elementary schools for kids who don't get access to music until they're 12 or 13 or 14. Now they're getting access at 6. We've been able to put programming academies in our elementary schools, beef up career technology and education. We've been able to raise our rates for our food service members to a living wage. We've been able to do all of these things, and it's a majority. Again, we're nonpartisan, but most of the people on that board are Republicans. And that's because we've been able to work together because we love children. And now we still have a problem despite all of that. And that's we can't keep kids in their seats. We can't keep kids in their seats because, like me, they're bouncing around from place to place, but unlike me, they're doing it at a much higher rate. I think at my worst, I was in 2 different elementary schools in first grade. My worst. Some of these kids are in 3 or 4 schools, and if they're lucky, it's continuous. Sometimes when they're temporarily living in a car or on a couch, they don't know where they're going to go to school next, and they drop out of school for a couple weeks. And after you accumulate that kind of bouncing around, your future looks less and less bright. And our outcomes are less and less good as schools. And so I'm running it for Congress because those opportunities that helped me, HUD is under attack. You don't put Ben Carson in charge of housing if you like it. Public education is under attack. You know, I actually tweeted at Betsy DeVos today. She said that we should honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I said, you in this administration rolled back civil rights protections for children. If you want to honor Dr. King, quit. Yeah. Our country, the things that we care about are under attack, and things aren't affordable. My families are feeling themselves being pushed out of their homes. They're not always able to make ends meet enough to eat. You know, I volunteered at our food pantry in my district, and the cars in the parking lot are getting nicer. And I don't think that's a moral failing. I think it's just harder and harder to be able to eat and stay in your home and provide for yourself. And we have a duty to protect folks, and that's why I'm running for Congress, for the working families, for the children, for the adults, that just cannot see themselves in this country anymore as participants,